Hello and good morning again. Today's topic of this webinar is PRINCE2, Make Your Project Even More Successful. My name is Daniel Morris. I'm working for professional services at Polarion Software. So what I usually do is doing trainings about Polarion. I will do first demonstrations to people who want to have a look into Polarion, and I'm responsible to answer some technical questions regarding Polarion software and their products. Today's agenda will be first a small introduction. I will say something about Polarion software, who we are, what we do, but then really quickly we will go into PRINCE2. I will give you an overview about what PRINCE2 is, about PRINCE2's principles, the themes in PRINCE2, processes, and also about project environment. So these are really important topics at PRINCE2. So if you don't know PRINCE2 yet, you might get an overview about PRINCE2, and then we will have a look how Polarion support PRINCE2, because that's also really important for us, that if you want to create projects based on PRINCE2, that you can use it, or you can do that in Polarion and how we support it. If we talk about Polarion and what Polarion is, Polarion software ALM is an ALM solution. So application lifecycle management, you can do requirement management, test management, issue and defect management, change and configuration management. You can use it for idea management, risk management, and so on. You will see Polarion is really flexible. So from scratch on, we built an ALM solution because we said you need everything in one tool environment. You don't want to work with some huge environments where you just put different kind of tools together and say this is an ALM solution. For the traceability purposes and all, and history and everything, you need an ALM solution. But what we have seen, not everyone wants to start directly with an ALM solution because ALM is a big topic. So we also have a same product with different kind of functionalities. For example, requirement management, where you have requirement management, variant management, a little bit of test management and defect tracking, but there are some functionalities disabled of the ALM license. So it's the same product, but with the different license, you just have some functionalities disabled. And of course, for example, the requirement license is cheaper than the ALM license. So you can really mix these licenses together and give them to your project team to give them really the functionality they need. The same is for QA, so test management. There is also a license for test management where you can do test and quality management, issue and defect management, and also a little bit about requirement management, change management, and so on. So as you can see, that these are the three main licenses. You can completely mix them up. And one thing which is also important about Polarion software, the whole product was not specially built for a special kind of industry. We have lots of customers in different kind of industries. So we have medical companies, we've got automotive companies, we've got banking companies, because Polarion is really flexible. And in Polarion, you can really configure the process to your needs. And of course, we have configurations for different kind of industries. So you've got, for example, templates for automotive customers. We've got templates for medical customers and so on to make it really easy for them to use Polarion and to add their process. About the architecture of Polarion, Polarion itself is a client-server architecture. So the only thing you need to access Polarion is a web browser. You can use Google Chrome, Firefox, or Internet Explorer to access Polarion. Just use your login credentials, connect to the server, and then you can go on working. There are also integrations available to Eclipse or Visual Studio. So if your developers work in an IDE and they don't want to make the switch between Chrome, Firefox, so the web browser or the IDE, they can access their tasks, the development tasks, the implementation tasks, or the defect they need to fix directly in their IDE. So there is an extension available to connect to Eclipse or Visual Studio. We are also really strongly working with Office products because that's something we know that lots of people still using Word and Excel. They might have some documents they want to import via Word or Excel, but also export for a review, for example. So for this purpose, we have our Polarian Word and Excel importer, for example, but also our round trip to connect to those people who are not using Polarian. Polarian itself is, like I said, really flexible, so you can also add extensions to Polarian. This extension portal is some sort of an app store, like, maybe from Apple or from Google, where you can download your apps, you can download extensions for Polarian. And for example, the PRINCE2 template I will show to you today is also available on this extension portal. So also some templates, some reports, all of them are available on our extension portal. So if you're using Polarian, or if you're planning to use Polarian, you should have a look at our extension portal to check out what is available. Also, the last topic, if we talk about integrations, there is a product, or we deliver some adapters to connect to different kind of tools. If you are already using tools or you want to connect the ALM software of Polarian to a different kind of tool, for example, for test automation, there might be some integrations available. But in general, Polarian is, like I said, really flexible. You can connect Polarian to different kind of tools, also using via the web services or Polarian's Java Open API. So Polarian is able to transfer data to different kind of tools and also get information of tools. So if an adapter is not yet available, you can build one, or we can build one for you to connect the tools together. Which is also really important at the end is this topic down below, these repositories. All the data in Polarian is stored in a version control system. So if you make any changes on your requirements, on your tasks, on your work packages and so on, everything will be tracked inside of this repository, and you always know who made what change and when. If we talk about Polarian, Polarian is founded in 2004. We are a German company located in Stuttgart. In 2005, we delivered the first product, the first 100% ALM solution. So we are now more than 10 years in this area working. And we try to make Polarian much more intuitive. We need to have the full traceability, so we are always working on Polarian to make Polarian much better. Because Polarian is our only main product, so we always focus on this product to make it better, to make it easier for you to use. We have currently more than 2.5 million users using solutions of Polarian software, also working strongly with the open source community, where we also deliver some products to the open source community. And like I said, for example, our extension portal, as I said, you should really have a look at it. More than 200 extensions are currently available at this extension portal to add some more functionalities to your Polarian server. We are also working strongly with our community. More than 15K registered community members are currently available. And we always want to have the knowledge of our community to know what is really needed, what does Polarian still need to make it even better. And for this, we have, for example, once a year, a user conference to get this information where our customers present what they are doing with Polarian. And that's really, really, really nice to get this information. We had our user conference 2 weeks ago, where we have seen lots of nice information, lots of nice solutions, how people are using Polarian. Like I said, Polarian itself is a German company, but of course we are located in different kind of countries. We have, for example, also offices in the US, also in France and the UK, which are not yet highlighted in this map, so I think we need to update this map. Our development is in Prague, but also we've got a strong reseller partners in different kind of countries, and also technology partners. So other kind of tools are already connected to Polarian or working together with Polarian to make this solution even bigger, to have full functionality. We also have, for example, really often some other webinars with other partners. For example, if I now see Ranorex, we will have a webinar with Ranorex together in November. So, and also SetMate, for example. So you should also have a look for these webinars if you're interested how these tools are connected together. So, about PRINCE2, why do we need PRINCE2? well, what we can see is projects are currently still failing. In the past, as you can see, let's say about 1996, more than 40% of projects were failing. So they weren't successful at all. They needed to be stopped because they were failing. Currently, well, we've got about 24% of projects are still failing. Successful projects are currently more than 30%. So it's already really good. So it's getting better. As you can see, it was much worse in 1994. A lot of projects were less than 20% of projects were successful. So we're doing better now, but still not fine. Because we also have this third part. We've got really challenging projects where it's not that easy to fulfill all the needs of the customer, for example, that it has been successful at the end. And, well, the goal, in my point of view, should be to have lots of more successful projects than challenging or even failing projects. And for this, you might need, for example, something like PRINCE2, or maybe also in connection with Polarian software. So, but what is a project? Well, projects, for example, are used to have some change, to add something into your company or to fulfill something for a customer. So you have some changes. That's one part of project, what projects are. Projects are always temporary. So after some time, you have some start date and an end date. If the project is finished, you might get into the next project or you might get back to your daily work. Projects are also interdivisional. So it could be that persons from different kinds of parts of the company are working together to make this change, to work on this project. A project is always also unique because the main parts of the project might be similar, but there's always something which is unique. You might have different kind of teams inside of different projects. You might have other customers. The location of the project might be completely different. So that's also really important, what defines a project. And also, projects can be unsafe, as we've seen in the previous slides. It might be challenging. Projects are more risky than your standard work. So that's what defines a project, for example. If we have a look about the evolution of PRINCE2. PRINCE2 was founded or developed in 1989 by the British government, so the Office of Government Commerce. They built PRINCE2 as an official standard for IT projects. PRINCE2, or PRINCE, is called Project in Control Environment. So you want to control your project, want to make them successful. In 1996, there were some enhancements to PRINCE. It was now called PRINCE2 and not PRINCE anymore. It should be a standard project management methodology. So it wasn't any more specialized just on an IT project. They made it much easier, so it was for all kind of project use. Then, in 2006, this methodology was completely reworked. In 2009, it was officially released, the new version. It was called PRINCE2 2009. It was still called PRINCE2 and not PRINCE3, for example, just to say that the methodology and the principles are still the same. It was just a little bit modified to make it easier to use PRINCE2 and also better to integrate it into other methodologies like, for example, ITIL. If we talk about PRINCE2, we are talking about 7 principles. So these are rules. If these principles are not fulfilled, it's not a PRINCE2 project. We are talking about 7 themes. So these are topics which are always focused on during a project. I will talk about these principles and these themes in one of my next slides so you get an idea what these principles and themes are. And also about 7 granular process phases. So that's how you go on working with your project, different kind of phases and what you have to do in these kind of phases. And also, you always, if you talk about these principal themes and processes, you always have to think about the project environment. The project environment might be different in each kind of project, so you always have to think about the processes and the themes what kind of processes you want to fulfill because of the project environment. So this is really important. If you have a look, for example, into the book of PRINCE2, the project environment has a completely extra chapter just to define what you should do dependent on the project environment. You can choose what kind of themes and processes you want to work on during a project, during a PRINCE2 project, but the principles are really important. You always need to work on all 7 principles. So let's have a look into these principles. One principle is a continued business justification. So you always need to think about, is this project really useful for us? Do we really need it? If not, you should think about stopping the project, for example. You should learn from experience. That's also a principle. All the experience you get during a project or even of other projects which were done before, you need to collect these experience, you need to track them, and also maybe need to change your work because of this experience. You should define roles and responsibilities. So because you might have people from different kind of business units, and you need to define roles. Who's responsible for what? To have a product at the end which is successful, that you have a project which is successful. You should manage your whole project by stages. So you will see it is split into different kind of phases. In all these phases, you need to check if, for example, the business justification is still there. You need to plan them, you need to check them, and you need to control these stages. But also, you should manage by exception. So, in a project, you might define some tolerances when you need to do something else, when you need to maybe add some more money into the project, or you need to have more users to fulfill at the end a successful project. So you need to define tolerances when a project still can go on. But of course, doing a project, there is still a product at the end where you need to focus on. You have defined a business case at the beginning of a project, and of course you need to focus on this project, that at the end the project will be successful. Then, last but not least, tailor to suit the environment. That's what I said. You have to have a look at the project environment, and you need to check, okay, what are the risks? How much work do we put into this project? How complex is it? How important is it? So you always have to have a look about the project environment. So if we come to themes which are important during a project, first thing which is really important is a business case. You need to know why do I do this project? If the business case, if there is no business case, you should stop with this project, because then it won't be successful at the end. You have the organization, so you need to know who is part of my project, who is doing what. If we talk about quality, we need to know what does the customer want, which fits to the business case. The customer has a specific business case, and so we really need to know what does the customer want, and also, of course, need to test if at the end the product is really what the customer wanted. We need to have plans, so we need to know, well, how do we do it? How much does it cost, or how much time does it take? And when will it be finished? So you need to plan your stages. Risks, of course, what happens if something fails or something is not working very well? Maybe you need to change your plans, or maybe you need to change the business case, change the organization, so much more people have to work for this if something is taking much longer than thought. You might have changes. So what is the impact if you change something? For example, what happens if you change the business case? Then you might need to define a new plan. And also progress, where are we, what are we doing? These are topics you always need to know if you're inside of a project, to know maybe we need to change something because we are not yet where we wanted to be. About the process, and you will see if you're doing a project, you might already know these processes and you might already work on these processes. Before you start with a project, you need to define your business case. So you're starting up a project, you define a business case. Do you decide who is part of your project management team? You define what kind of phases you will have. And of course, you will ask your customer if that you can start your project. And that's where you have this directing a project. That's where, for example, your boss, customers sit in and they really tell you, okay, you've got a business case, you can initiate your project. You can go on, you can work on these phases so the definition of the project fits. And you always ask these people if you're not in your tolerances, you've got some questions, you have some open questions, you will ask these people, should we go on with a project or is it failed or should we stop this project? Then you are initiating a project. That would be next process phase. You will define a risk management strategy, a quality management strategy, and also define the business case much better. When you started a project, you just had, for example, maybe an idea how to make something better in your company or for a customer. And then you define it much more detailed when you're initiating the project. Managing a stage boundary, that might happen more often because you might have more stages, more iterations, more releases during your project. You always need to check during such a stage boundary if the business case still fits, because if it doesn't fit, you should think about stopping the project. You also talk about your experience in these stages. So what happened? What do we need to do better? Where are some issues? And you also report these to your bosses or to your customers, for example. Controlling a stage, that's where the project manager works in this stage. That's his daily work. He needs to check about some open points. If there are some risks for the project, he might to talk to the customer that something needed to be changed. He needs to check the different kind of phases and also needs to deliver all working packages. So everything what should be implemented or what should be changed during the project, that's where he controls it, defines these working packages and sends them to the development team. And they are managing the product delivery. They take the working package and deliver it, work on this, and also give always a status report, for example, to the project manager. Okay, what's the status of the project, about the iteration, about the release? Are we in time? Will everything work on? If the business case changes or if someone decides to stop the project, it will be closing a project. It could be a successful closing, but it could be also maybe not unsuccessful closing. But at the end, you write down a report about your experience in the project. Maybe this is useful for the next project. And also an end report, how the project looked like. And as I've said, the project environment, you really need to think, if you're talking about the themes, if you're talking about the principles, if you're talking about the processes, you really need to think that they fit to your project environment. If you have a small project, your stages and your phases might be much smaller than having a big project where you have to define much more phases and much more people working in it. So how does Polarion help and what does Polarion bring you? That's something I want to show you, showing in Polarion. As you can see, that's now my Polarion. I'm using, like I said, a web browser to access Polarion, and there is this PRINCE2 template on our extension portal. If we have a look at this PRINCE2 template, we have a completely topic PRINCE2. If you already know Polarion, you might see, well, lots of it looks like a standard Polarion template. So what happened in this template is there is a new folder, PRINCE2, just to control your project, but you can still use the standard Polarion definition. You can do requirement management, test management, and so on. PRINCE2 just helps you to control your whole project, to make it easier and to have a definition for each phase what you have to do. So if we have a look into PRINCE2, we will see here are our processes. We have starting up a project, initiating a project, stage boundary, controlling a stage, product delivery and closing a project, and overall directing a project with different kind of tasks you need to fulfill. So if we have a look, for example, in starting up a project, we will see we have some tasks we need to fulfill inside of it. So we have to, for example, prepare the outline business case. You can track this task and the progress of this task, what needs to be done. You have all the process description of Polarion's functionality by default, so you can say, this is done. And if this, for example, let's say this is done, we need to fill in the assignee. So I did it, click on save. So we have our task work item. If we refresh our wiki page, we will see, okay, this is done. So we only have 5 items anymore we need to work on in this phase. We also have maybe some input data, so a project mandate to go on that we can really think about this project, what we want to do, and also lots of hyperlinks to some project or document templates. So if we have a look, for example, in the outline of a business case, we will see we jump directly automatically inside of a Polarian document. This document is based on a PRINCE2 template, or all these documents are based on a PRINCE2 template. So we see that you can track the revision history, you can check approvals, you can add this distribution, and everything is already defined. So you can just go on, write down your business case, your outline of this business case, and go on working. But for example, if we have a look at revision history and approvals in this template, you can still use it as before inside of a Word document, but you might think about, if you're using Polarian, to use Polarian's approval functionality to add approvals, and that automatically, for example, this will be added in here. And also all the changes are tracked in Polarian's internal history. So as you can see, in the PRINCE2 documents, we already have something like history and approvals, which is integrated in Polarian. And maybe that's something which is up to you if you want to still work on these documents like you do in Word, but you can also use functionalities of Polarian. If we head back, for example, to PRINCE2, to our first folder, and have a look into initiating a project, we have the same. We've got some tasks in here, so they will guide you through the whole project. But for example, for this risk register, which is, for example, a Polarian report, which shows me all kind of risks which are currently available in this project. Currently, we don't have any risks available inside of this project, but if we define, for example, a new risk inside of our project, so we have a new risk in here, we can track it. We will also have our risk register, which gives me all the information I need. Going back to this managing product delivery, that's where you really think about, okay, what do we need to deliver? What kind of project do we need to deliver? And if we click on managing product delivery, we will see we'll jump into Polarian plans, where you can track your releases, you can track your stages, and also how much time you worked on these, what kind of work packages do you need to deliver. The question, if you're using PRINCE2, so if I type in, for example, work package, we will have a work item work package, but also a document work package. So as I've said, a lot of document templates are available inside of this PRINCE2 project. So we have a whole document for work packages where you can define the work package. But I would propose maybe to use these work packages as a work item, because in here you define what kind of product you need to deliver. If we think about what kind of product we would need to deliver, we will write down, I guess, requirements, and based on these requirements, you define work packages which need to be delivered. And that's where we connect PRINCE2 and Polarian together, that you say maybe we defined a requirement specification inside of Polarian, you've written all your requirements, maybe you have added, for example, also some diagrams inside of this requirement specification which describe a use case a little bit better, just quickly drawing some quick things. We want to implement this, insert it into a document. You can go as a requirement engineer, you go through an approval of the whole specification and define, well, this item has been approved, this has been approved, this has been approved. Maybe also if you disapprove something, you need to write down why it has been disapproved. So what about not public roads? So what you can see in here, quickly adding my electronic signature. What Polarian gives you, or the advantage you have, is I need to fill in the status of this Live Pilot spec. I didn't configure this. What Polarian gives you is PRINCE2 helps you to control the whole project. Polarian supports you to control the process of each requirement of each work package. So it helps you not only to have a successful project, a PRINCE2 project, it helps you also to define the process, what you need to do in the next step. So if you want to send it to an approval, that you might have some mandatory fields like the severity you need to fill. So there's the combination of PRINCE2 and Polarian, that if you go much more detailed into your requirements, into your work packages, that you can also not only define how the project should work, you also define each single step of each requirement, each test case, each work package, what you need to fulfill. So if we take, for example, let's take this requirement, and for this requirement we want to implement something. We need to add something to manage our product delivery. We say, well, we define a work package for this requirement. So implement drive pilot controls accelerator with software-based controls commands. You can define estimates that you say, well, I think it takes me 2 days to implement something like this. I will assign this one to the system administrator. Well, if I have a work package, I might want to add an implementation task, so someone needs to implement this. But also for this work package, we want to have a testing task. So we need to test, or we want to test something. So if we're finished with these working packages, we might come back to our PRINCE2. We have now a working package. I already predefined another working package before the webinar started. So let's go into product delivery. We have stage 1. We have to define a start and a due date for this stage. So let's say we started this phase beginning of October, and we want to be finished at the end of October. We have a capacity, so how much people do we have? That's something we defined in our PRINCE2 template. So what's our organization? How much people do we have? And let's say we have a capacity of 200 hours in this month. We want to plan a work package, so we can save it, go back to our plan. Currently, nothing is planned for this stage. Let's add a new work package. So we have 2 work packages. One work package we created, and one I created before. Let's add, for example, both to this plan, so to this stage. As we can see, we planned now 2 days, because it took us 2 days to plan it. Still 23 days are open. So let's have a look for this item. This hasn't got any initial estimate yet, so let's add 5 days as an initial estimate and add this also to this plan. So now 7 days are planned, 18 days are still unplanned. If we have a look to this stage, we get also some diagrams to see the overview about what has been implemented. We see that 2 items have been planned. If we maybe want to say, well, but this drive pilot should be easy to operate without extensive training, should get a higher priority. Maybe we want to prioritize these items. We can use, for example, drag and drop to give them a higher priority, or just increase it via clicking on these buttons, or define the priority manually. Say, well, we want to have a priority of 80, click save. And if we head back to our plan, we will see this has now a higher priority. So people who are going to implement this, to deliver this product, get an overview, this is much more important. So as a project manager, you define the stage and what kind of work package should be implemented. So we are starting this to get some calculations in there and to see the progress. We have got still 7 days to do. No one worked on this stage yet, so we will go into an iteration and define, okay, in this iteration, we started with this iteration beginning of this week. We want to be finished at the end of this week. We want to plan work packages and issues. If we go back, we add some work items to this plan. In here, we see our 2 work packages. Let's take the work package with the higher priority in here. So we didn't define any time. That's why it says -5 days. Fine for me now. Going into this iteration, saying we started, we will have also an overview like before. Well, burn down or burn up charts. We can also have a look, okay, what's the real progress? We can say we want to make this invisible, or we can say what is really the real progress. Currently, we didn't work, we didn't do anything. And in here down below, we see a task board. Okay, we need to implement this drive pilot for an extensive training. It has been assigned to the system administrator, and no one worked on this till now. So we have our task, and in these tasks we still have all our fields which can be defined. If we say, well, I as a system administrator worked on this item, for example, I mark it as verified done. So we need to fill in the resolution. You will see when I refresh this plan, well, this task has been moved to verified. This is still open. I can add, for example, also my working hours and say, well, I can define them in time spent, but also I can say, well, I as a system administrator worked today for 4 hours on my work package for implementation. As you can see, the remaining estimate is getting less, 4 days and 4 hours. So with Polarion, you're really guided through a process. It helps you to deliver your product or your work packages. If you refresh this page, we will see 4.5 days are still to do. Here is some relative progress. A half a day someone worked on this work package, and also if you move to the next iteration or to the next stage, you can move, for example, let's say, for example, this has been done. You can go into the next stage or into the stage and move all your open tasks to the next phase. You can see the stage report also changes. So, for example, a release report changes. That still 6.5 days are open. Half a day was already done. If we move to the next iteration, we also set a start date. So next week, a due date, say save. Same as before, we can move also our open work package to this phase because we still have some tasks to do. We need to implement this one. Going into this iteration, here we see that now the task which was finished is still finished, so it was moved to the next iteration, and we still have some open work to do. So all this to work on these work packages in work items and to have, for example, some subtasks on this linked to this work package, you can manage to deliver your product delivery. PRINCE2, so if we go back to PRINCE2 or to the image, PRINCE2 helps you to direct the whole project to have at the end, hopefully, a successful project. But during the project, to specify something in a requirement specification, for example, to go through approval, to have a history, to check always changes inside of the project, to deliver your work product, Polarion will help you. Because in Polarion, you can define all these work packages, your requirements, you can define what kind of fields and what kind of workflow should be inside of this project, and the whole project will be guided by Prince2. So that's where I come to my end and tell something, okay, how does Polarion help? Polarion helps you, because you've got a template for Prince2, you've got your task, what you need to do during a project phase, to initiate a project, to close a project. You've got lots of reports available, like in a Word document. You can specify as in a Word document, but to go much deeper into the project, you've got Polarion functionalities to do an approval of your requirement specification. You've got the plans, you've got test runs to execute all your test cases for your requirements, to check if your work packages are real, or the things you implement are really successful and they are really correct, and also define all your risks. You can define all your experience. You can add, for example, a work item experience to track all this experience inside of a Polarion project. So at the end, the project will be successful. This was a small overview about Prince2 and what Prince2 gives you or brings you. Also, how a Prince2 template in Polarion looks like, so that you have these so-called management products, so all these documents available inside of Polarion. You don't need to think about the structure of these documents because they are already inside of Polarion, and you can then go on specifying them. But if you're working more granular, going deeper into your requirements, your test cases, to have traceability analysis, to plan your test execution, to plan your product delivery, you can use internal Polarion products which help you to create these work packages and to deliver these. So let's have a look if there are some questions. As I can see, there is one question. The question is if you need something special for this Prince2 template. So if there is any special price or something like this, well, that's really easy to say. Well, the Prince2 template is for free. You can go onto our extension portal. Let's quickly show it to you. Here you find the Prince2 template. You can add it simply as you do with other templates, add it to your Polarion environment and just go on working. So you don't need to do anything else. You just go on and use the Prince2 template. Okay, this has been answered. There is another question about the licenses needed to use this template. Questions. You don't, well, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to use, for example, the plans, you need, for example, an ALM license. If you want to work on the specification, a requirement or QA license is enough. So you don't need really a special license to work on this, but for example, to use these Polarion functionalities, you might need some special licenses, but that's something we can discuss later on. If you have a question, feel free to send us an email to know what kind of licenses are needed. So I don't see any open questions left. You can visit Polarion.com, for example, to watch different kind of product and tutorial videos. We do have much recordings available, so you should really check them out. Even if you want to see, for example, some small functionalities of Polarion, like these test runs or something like this. There are also some tutorial videos. They are not longer than 5 minutes, for example. You can check them out. They are in English. If you want to try out Polarion, so if you're not yet using Polarion, you can download it. You've got a 30-day free trial to check it out and try it on by yourself, but you can also try it online on our cloud server to check and maybe also add a configuration and work on this to check how it's working. And also you can request a proof of concept if you want to know, okay, can Polarion fulfill our needs? We can help you with it and show it to you. I see there is a new question popped up. How to start a next project step based on the same requirement? Means, do I have to reopen all Prince2 activities? Is this question regarded to a new project or just a new project phase? Because for a next project phase, that would be the managing a stage boundary. In this phase, then you, on the one hand, you need to open the task again, or you just don't close, because these are the only tasks, these stage boundaries, which will be reopened during the next phase. Then you need to decide, well, normally you would close these and then you need to reopen this. Okay, new project. Well, or you can add, new project or new software version. So if you define a new Polarion, or if you want to add a new project, you just create a completely new Polarion project and all these tasks will be there anymore, or will be there again. If you're talking about the next stage or the next release, you need to reopen these tasks. But this could be also implemented differently, I guess. But currently it's inside of this template. It's not implemented like this. But you can have, for example, for these stage boundaries, special kind of tasks where this workflow doesn't end, where you can repeat the workflow ongoing. But for now, for this template, the standard tasks and the standard configurations are taken, because this might differ in each kind of company. Seems I answered the question. If there are no questions left, or if there are some questions left, of course you can contact me or my colleagues via our homepage or via Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and so on. So also please have a look for these channels, to check into LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, and stay connected with us. If you wanted also to have a look into different kind of product demonstrations, or also different kind of templates, or as I said, for example, also webinars with different kind of partners, stay connected. Visit www.polarion.com and check out our other webinars, also in different kind of languages. Hopefully we'll see us again in our next webinars. Thank you very much, and have a nice day and rest of the week.